Many spiritually awake people struggle with lust because awareness sharpens every sensation, making desires feel more vivid, more intense, and harder to ignore, even when the mind tries to transcend them. Lust becomes a spiritual paradox. The more you seek purity, the more the shadow follows you because suppressing desire often feeds it, giving it power instead of dissolving it. True liberation from lust happens not by rejecting or fighting it, but by understanding it as a natural, energetic force, observing it without attachment, letting it rise and fall like any other passing wave within the human experience. Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of truth, wanderers of the inner world, today we speak about a topic many feel, but few dare to admit. It is the quiet conflict that lives within the awakened, the enlightened, the mindful. Lust, that ancient force that rises within us like a storm even as we chase serenity. Alan Watts often reminded us that spiritual awakening is not about escaping the human experience. It is about diving into it with open eyes. And that is exactly why so many spiritually conscious individuals struggle with lust. Because when you wake up, you feel everything more deeply. When your mind is numb, nothing disturbs you. But when your awareness expands, when your senses sharpen, when your soul becomes more alive, even desire becomes brighter, louder, and more magnetic. Spiritual awakening does not remove the fire. It removes the blindfold. And suddenly you see just how powerful the fire is. For the spiritually awake, lust is not only physical, it becomes energetic. It becomes a craving for connection, intimacy, union, and transcendence. It becomes a pull toward something deeper than the body, yet expressed through the body. And because they understand the complexity of emotions, they also feel the intensity of desire more strongly than most people. But here is where the struggle begins. Spirituality teaches detachment, inner peace, and mastery of the self. Yet lust demands surrender, chaos, and burning passion. These two forces collide within the awakened person, like waves crashing against rocks. Alan Watts said something profound. What you resist not only persists, it grows. Spiritually awakened individuals often try to silence lust, to meditate it away, to reject it in the name of purity. But the more they reject it, the more lust returns with greater force. Not because they are weak, but because they are human. The truth is, lust becomes dangerous only when it is hidden in the shadows, when you pretend you don't feel it, when you deny the reality of your own biology, your own energy. And that suppression, that silence, becomes a breeding ground for shame, guilt, and inner conflict. So why do the spiritually aware struggle secretly? Because they feel ashamed to admit they still have desires. They fear judgment. They fear being misunderstood. They fear that having lust means they are not spiritually pure. But spiritual awakening was never about becoming pure. It was always about becoming whole. Holiness does not mean perfection. It means integration. Lust is not the enemy. Ignorance of lust is the enemy. When you observe desire without letting it control you, when you understand it without letting it define you, when you allow it to pass like a wave without clinging to it, then lust becomes not a chain, but a teacher. It teaches you awareness. It teaches you humility. It teaches you the truth about your human nature. And when you embrace both your light and your shadow, you rise into a higher form of spiritual maturity, one that Alan Watts often celebrated. A maturity where you are no longer frightened by your desires, but neither enslaved by them. In the end, spiritual awakening is not about escaping lust. It is about awakening to the part of you that can hold desire in one hand and wisdom in the other. Lust is not your downfall. It is your reminder that you are alive, that you are human, that you are connected to something powerful and ancient. And when you understand this, the struggle becomes less of a battle and more of a dance between the body and the soul, between fire and stillness, between the human within you and the infinite beyond you. The spiritually awake often struggle with lust because awareness intensifies every sensation, every thought, and every emotion. When someone lives unconsciously, desires come and go without much reflection, like background noise. But when a person becomes awakened, truly awakened, the noise becomes a symphony. They feel more, notice more, sense more. Lust does not just appear as a fleeting impulse. It becomes a full-body experience, a surge of energy that flows through the mind and the spirit. This heightened perception does not make them weak. It makes them more connected to life itself. Spiritual awakening sharpens the senses, and what was once a small spark becomes a visible flame. Suddenly, the person is aware not only of the desire but of the sensations behind it, the emotions beneath it, and the deeper longing within it. This makes lust more intense, not because the awakened person seeks it, but because they can no longer ignore it. Their awareness acts like a magnifying glass, revealing the rawness of human desire in a way that ordinary consciousness never does. And this is where the struggle begins. Lust is no longer something they can run from or suppress without noticing the inner consequences. It becomes a mirror, reflecting parts of themselves they never examined before. It becomes a force that challenges their discipline, their mindfulness, and their commitment to spiritual alignment. Instead of fading with spiritual growth, lust often becomes more visible, more transparent, and more demanding of understanding. But this intensity is not a curse. It is a sign that they are awake enough to witness the truth of their inner world. And witnessing that truth is the first step toward transforming it into something higher, something balanced, something consciously integrated into their journey. Lust becomes a spiritual paradox, because the moment someone seeks purity, discipline, or inner stillness, the opposite energy begins to rise within them. It is almost as if the mind, when told not to think about something, becomes obsessed with it. The spiritually awake often try to suppress desire, believing it contradicts their growth, but suppression feeds the very thing they wish to escape. The more they push lust away, the more power it gains, building pressure in the shadows of the mind. This silent pressure creates confusion because they expect spiritual clarity to remove desire, not amplify it. Yet the truth is that resisting any emotion makes it stronger. Lust, when rejected, becomes rebellious. It seeks attention, expression, acknowledgement. It grows because it has been denied space to breathe. This inner conflict makes the awakened person feel torn between the nobility of their spiritual aims and the rawness of their human impulses. They begin to question themselves, wondering why desire seems louder the moment they try to silence it. The paradox is simple. By treating lust as an enemy, it becomes one. By understanding it, observing it, and allowing it to exist without surrendering to it, its power begins to dissolve naturally. True liberation from lust begins when a person stops treating desire as a problem to eliminate and starts seeing it as an energy to understand. Lust is not an enemy. It is a natural current within the human experience, a force that arises like any emotion or thought. When the spiritually awake observe lust without judgment, they step into a higher form of awareness where desire loses its ability to control them. Instead of reacting impulsively or suppressing the feeling, they watch it rise, peak, and eventually fade. This simple act of witnessing breaks the cycle of shame and resistance that usually strengthens lust. Through mindful observation, desire becomes transparent rather than overwhelming. The awakened individual realizes that lust does not define them. It merely passes through them. This understanding transforms the experience from a battle into a flow, from tension into acceptance. When lust is allowed to exist without attachment, it loses its grip and becomes just another wave in the ocean of consciousness. Liberation comes not from fighting desire, but from seeing it clearly and letting it move through the mind and body without clinging, fear, or guilt. Listen closely. You are not broken because you feel desire. You are not less spiritual because you experience temptation. You are not weak because your mind wanders or your body responds. You are human. You are alive. And every great spiritual teacher, every enlightened thinker, every awakened soul has walked through this same fire. The question is not whether lust appears, because it will. The real question is, what will you do when it rises? Will you hide from it? Will you shame yourself? Will you pretend you are beyond it? This is where true power is born. Not in suppression, not in guilt, not in pretending to be pure, but in mastery. calm, conscious mastery over your inner world. You have the ability to witness your desires without being controlled by them. You have the strength to let the wave pass without drowning in it. And you have the wisdom to transform that energy into clarity, focus, creativity, and purpose. Every time you choose awareness over impulsiveness, you grow stronger. Every time you choose understanding over judgment, you rise higher. Every time you choose presence over suppression, you step deeper into your spiritual maturity. So walk forward without fear. You are not fighting against lust, you are learning from it. You are not losing a battle, you are gaining mastery. And every moment of awareness brings you closer to the version of yourself you were meant to become.